Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
the Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode, we have a wrestling, Christmas, horror crossover.
What more could you ask for?
No, for real. We are in the holiday season.
We are, and the holiday spirit. Look at the setup.
I was going to say, I'm feeling very festive. I feel festive. Do you feel festive?
Yes, I just added stockings and 2 Christmas pillows to the setup, and the same setup from before.
No, it's
I'm like,
perfect.
look, it's festive now.
I love it.
Also, I'm wearing a Santa hat.
And a super cute hoodie sweater.
Oh, yeah.
I just called it a hoodie.
That's okay. You have also a super cute hoodie sweater. Let's get baked.
Little matchy.
And I just noticed your ribbon around your neck.
Yeah.
It looks like a little...
This is the only like Christmas attire that I own.
It's really cute.
Thanks. I tried. Okay. So do you want to hear what movie we're covering today?
Sure do.
We are covering 2005's Santa's Sleigh.
So the hat was really fitting.
It's perfect.
Featuring none other than Bill Goldberg.
Yes. As Santa Claus.
Yeah, I guess I should say starring, not even just featuring. Starring. Bill Goldberg.
Starring.
Get it right.
Not only Goldberg, which is very exciting, but there are a lot of actors in this movie. There are a lot of names that do cameos.
Yeah.
And some of the actors, like the leads, have gone on to have incredible careers.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think we should get into it.
Would you like to hear the IMDb description?
Oh, shit, yes. I mean, dang. Crap, yes.
Gosh darn it. Here we go. Santa Claus is actually a demon who lost a bet with an angel. Did you know that? I didn't know that. So he becomes the giver of toys and happiness. But when the bet is off, he returns to his evil ways.
That's exactly what happens.
That is exactly what happens.
Well, that's all. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Imagine that's it. That's what happens. That's the movie. So I cannot wait to get into this actual movie because the opening scene alone.
Yeah.
If you don't watch anything else, watch the opening scene. I feel like it's the craziest scene in a Christmas movie possibly ever.
Absolutely. It sets the tone for the entire movie for sure.
It really does. I almost feel like it could have been its own short film.
Yeah. And actually, I believe that's the first thing he wrote. Was the opening scene. Yeah. And then built from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of like fun little things about that scene. Would you like to hear what they are?
I sure do.
All right, then. Well, first and foremost, Goldberg was very sick when they shot this, and they didn't use him for most of the scene.
Really?
They had to reshoot and then add him in.
Okay.
So if you watch it really closely, there are parts of it where you can see it's not actually Goldberg.
Yeah. Oh, now that you mention it, I didn't notice that, but I'm thinking about how, yeah, they totally could have done things separately too.
Yeah. And it wasn't planned that way. It just happened that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that opening scene with all of those cameos actually was quite difficult.
Mm-hmm.
People that had agreed to do the film had like conflicts, and so it was difficult to get those actors together.
Yeah.
And they were only scheduled for 1 day of shooting.
Oh my gosh.
And they had to do an extra day.
And that's a big scene.
It's a huge scene. So James Caan specifically hadn't read the script fully, so he really didn't know that what kind of movie this was. So he wasn't going to do it after already agreeing to do it.
Oh.
And the director went to his house and like basically convinced him.
Wow.
Because he didn't like all the swearing. He agreed to do it afterwards, but yeah, so that was a struggle. Just getting this film like together was a struggle, especially that opening scene.
There are so many big name actors in that scene. Fran Drescher is one of them.
Yeah.
Chris Kattan, you might know from like Night at the Roxbury. Rebecca Gayheart, who I love in Jawbreaker.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Also in a lot of other things like Scream 2, but Jawbreaker was my first thought. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, she's great in it.
But all the actors you mentioned to me when we were rewatching, they're all Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? And they're celebrating Christmas in the scene.
I think almost all the actors in this movie, or a lot of them are.
Wow.
And it wasn't on purpose. They actually, the director, I listened to an interview with him, and he like talks about it, and he kind of like joked about it, that it just happened to be that way.
Oh, I thought it was on purpose.
No. I know. It's kind of funny. It seems like it, right?
Should we set the scene here?
Yeah.
For this opening scene? We have a lot of big name actors that are basically making a cameo in this movie because we're not going to see them past the scene.
No, they're having a very dysfunctional Christmas dinner.
Yes. And we're starting to learn so much about these characters. I think that's why I hate to say that this might be my favorite scene in the whole movie because it's just the beginning.
No, I mean, it's a great scene,
But
though.
it's such a good scene.
Yeah.
We learned so much about these characters in like 3 minutes. So I know that Gwen, which is Rebecca Gayhart's character, says something about what I want for Christmas is a faithful husband, who is Chris Kattan. And then Fran Drescher starts laughing and she's like, what else do you want? And then we see her start flirting with Gwen's husband. She's like, 1 potato, 2 potato.
Oh my
like,
God.
It's just so funny to me.
It is. It's great.
And they're just being very obvious about it. Everyone at the table, except Gwen, actually, seems like a horrible person.
Yeah.
So the twins they start doing a prayer and they're just saying some wild things in their prayer where we're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, everybody at the table is pretty much a piece of shit.
Yeah, except Gwen.
Except for Gwen. Yeah, Gwen seems like not, but most of them are saying like vulgar things.
Yeah.
And it's a very dysfunctional dinner.
I mean, I can only imagine how many people can relate to seeing such a dysfunctional dinner. Maybe not this dysfunctional.
Yeah, this is like next level dysfunctional.
Yeah, I surely hope that your dinners don't result in what's about to happen.
Yeah. Hopefully the food's good.
At least, at the very least, come for dessert and then leave.
Yeah.
But instead, we see that Santa comes down the chimney.
Sure does.
He rolls on down
Yeah.
and unfortunately kicks the dog like immediately.
I know. I didn't love that.
I was like, well, shit.
Yeah.
He starts destroying everyone.
Yeah. He basically just beats the shit out of everyone and kills them.
Literally, he like pins the dad's hands to the table with forks or knives. He kicks Chris Kattan through like a giant clock. One of the twins, because there were twin girls, she like fell backwards and just impaled herself.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he didn't even technically kill her.
Yeah.
My favorite has to be Fran Drescher. I mean, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
he sets her hair on fire with whatever it was, whatever torch he had, and some spray, and then drowns her in eggnog. Pretty brutal way to go.
I love also that it's like eggnog. So festive.
I know. She even did her the nanny laugh when she says like Santa, something like that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they made sure to get that in.
It's great.
She got to get her shit in, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how that scene ends. Like he just comes in, destroys everyone, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it really does set the tone for the movie. You're
It
like,
really does.
okay, Santa Claus is not good.
Yeah. And then we go to the opening credits.
Yeah.
That are basically telling the lore of Santa and why he's evil.
I thought that was pretty creative.
It was. It doesn't fully confirm the story, but then it gives you a little idea, and then they're going to confirm it later with the characters.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the opening credits.
I thought it was really interesting. And the main thing that you really confirm here is that this has been going on for a really long time.
Right.
And it's been happening for 1,000 years.
Yes,
That whatever is
exactly.
happening for 1,000 years. We
Yep.
are now in 2005.
That's right. 2005. That's when I had my first wrestling match.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I started in 2004 and I had my first match in 2005.
Wow. I wish I started in 2005.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You don't.
You're right. I don't. Whenever I feel like, oh, I wish I would have started earlier, I'm like, no, I don't.
No.
Because you never know who could have had an influence over you, like what could have changed.
Yeah, for sure. It's an extra couple years that your body wasn't bumping.
Yeah, that's true. And so we now cut to a deli,
Yeah, we're at the deli with a little old lady.
a miserable old lady.
Yeah, she's a bit of a C word, you know?
Yeah, just a little bit.
I kind of love her though.
I love the sassiness. That's what it is.
It is. It's even though she's such an asshole and she's so rude to the kid. That's like, we're introduced to a character. His name is Nicholas. We don't know that's his name yet, but
Yeah.
it's Nicholas. He's
Yeah.
one of the leads, and he's behind the counter, and she's just ripping him a new one.
Yeah, she's like, you're just like your crackpot grandpa.
Yeah, which they established right off the hop that everyone in town thinks that Nicholas's grandpa is crazy.
Yeah. She demands that the Jewish deli owner wish her a Merry Christmas. And he's just like, okay, sure, whatever.
She also pays with change, and it's not the right amount. She's supposed to pay $4.50, and she only pays $4.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she argued to get that price down anyway from $4.95. She wanted to
She
do
sure did.
$4.50 instead.
Yep.
So now we see that the little old lady is driving in her car.
Yep.
She's miserable.
She's trying to light a cigarette.
Yes. And Santa pulls up behind her.
Yeah.
He's like, he pulls a page out of Ludacris's book and says, "Move, bitch, get out the way." And there's no way that wasn't from Ludacris because it was 2005.
Absolutely,
Come
for
on.
sure. Yeah.
And then he flips her car.
Yeah, and they had to do that in one take.
Really?
They could only do it once. Yeah.
That's wild.
I know. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
so impressive.
I know, right? I think
They
it's
nailed
pretty
it.
cool.
So we see that Santa so far has mostly been destroying assholes. And I started to wonder, is he a good guy? Is he only destroying people who quote unquote deserve it? I don't know.
Right.
But we'll see. That's not the case.
No, definitely not.
So when Nikki gets home, or Nicholas, they call him Nikki and Nicholas. When Nikki gets home, we see that he has to open his door, finding a bunch of keys around the porch.
Oh my God, yeah. Because there's like a million locks on his door.
Yeah.
And he's like lifting something, grabbing a key, digging in or something, grabbing a key. Like their keys hidden all over the place.
Yeah. So they're establishing, okay, the grandpa might be at least a little paranoid.
A little bit paranoid.
Just
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And he goes.
But also, why would you be hiding the keys on your porch? Why don't you just have them on a key ring?
That's what I was thinking too.
Who knows?
But he wants them all to be in different places. So like you would think Nikki would have one of them.
That's what I mean.
Like the final key.
I don't know.
But anyway, so he goes inside and then the power goes out. And he's going through the house with a flashlight. He's trying to find the fuse box.
Yes.
Rod, do you remember when we were watching? You're like, is he trying to find the fuse box? And as I was saying, like, no, I think he's trying to find his grandpa. He like walked up on the fuse box and I was like, oh, I guess he is trying to find the fuse box.
I know, that was really funny. That gave me a good laugh.
So then there's a little jump scare here. His grandpa grabs his shoulder and we're introduced to the quote unquote crazy grandpa.
Crazy grandpa, he drops a box of light bulbs.
Yeah. He's like, that's the second box of light bulbs I dropped. I loved him.
I loved him too. He reminded me of grandpa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Very wacky.
Yeah, I liked him.
At the very least.
I didn't know. My grandpa passed away before I was born, so I've never had a grandpa. Oh. Well, I guess I did technically, but yeah, so I don't know. I love seeing like sweet grandpas in movies. It's so cute.
That is so cute. So he definitely seems like a paranoid inventor is what we're learning.
Yeah, he is an inventor for sure. Yeah.
They go down into the basement, I'm assuming, and Nikki says something like, oh, is this why I haven't seen you in a couple days?
Yeah, because he says something about a bunker.
Yeah.
Grandpa mentions a bunker, and then he proceeds to show him a bunker.
Right.
Like something he built in the basement.
Yeah, which is, I'm like, just a few days. That's impressive.
I know. It really is.
So Nikki grabs what looks like a nutcracker. And he's like, oh, what's this? And the grandpa's like, be careful with that. And of course, he's still pressing buttons and whatnot. And then the nutcracker fires something across the room to where they have to duck because it's like ping, 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 like hitting the walls.
Yeah.
And he's like, I told you to be careful with that. That will come into play later.
I also, like, I don't know what it is, but, like, I find inventors to be so fascinating.
I was thinking the same thing, that I love this concept. And I don't know if it's because I used to love the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I was getting Honey, I Shrunk the Kids vibes as well. And also, this is a weird one, but, like, Casper. Like, do you remember in Casper, the dad was, like, trying to make a machine to bring his wife back? Like, just that... The brain of like an inventor.
Yeah, I think it's a little nostalgic for us.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So as they're going around the bunker, Nikki's telling his grandpa, I'm the only one in town that doesn't think you're nuts. And honestly, my belief is dwindling. So he's starting to lose a little faith in his grandpa as well.
No, for sure. And grandpa has like a security system installed outside his house, and he's got several security TV sets, but they're like old school boob tube TV sets.
Yeah.
He's got like 4 of them in his little bunker.
Yeah. So we cut to Santa, who is now on the street, candy cane in his mouth, and he's ringing a charity bell for like Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Which I was confused as to why he would waste his time doing that if he's trying to like, I don't know, kill everyone.
Yeah, I didn't get that either, but also he probably did steal that from whomever like originally had it.
That's very possible.
I think. I don't know.
But here we still don't know. And then a thief comes up behind him and tries to rob him. So once again, it's a quote unquote bad person. Is he just beating up bad people? We don't know. But this guy grabs him and then Santa just fucks him up, of course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He ends up stabbing him in the eye with the candy cane and then gorilla presses him into the dumpster.
Oh, it's so awesome. It's so pro wrestling.
We're already seeing a wrestling move.
Hell yeah.
Good job. You gotta get him in there.
Oh, no, you have to for sure. Yeah.
So now we cut back to Nikki and Grandpa, and Nikki is telling him, I want you to tell me the truth about Christmas, and I'm not asking if Santa is real. So there's something here that he knows that his grandpa has been alluding to his whole life.
Yep.
He wants to know what's going on. Why are you so paranoid?
So grandpa goes to the closet and the safe comes up from under the floor.
Yeah.
And my Virgo ass is watching this going like, logistically, what does that look like from downstairs? Like, is it a nook? Like, how does that like actually work?
Yeah.
But anyways, the safe comes up, he opens it up and he pulls out this big book.
Yes. The Book of Claws.
The Book of Claws. And it is like big and very like, what is it called? Like like fantasy.
Yeah, it reminded me of the book from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, or like the Never-Ending Story or something like that.
Like you want to see what that book is all about.
Yeah, exactly. And so he opens up the book and he starts to sort of explain to Nicholas like the lore, but before he does, he kind of bitches at him that Nicholas doesn't speak the language, which apparently the book is written in Icelandic.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, he's like, if you don't practice it, you're never going to be able to read it. Because he starts reading it in that language, and then Nikki's like, can you do it in English?
Yeah, which, like, don't you wish that, I don't know, I wish my mom would have forced me to do French immersion when I was young.
I know this is a sidetrack, but my grandma, I had no idea until, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, that she spoke French as a child.
Oh.
I had no idea. And she told me like closer to her deathbed that she spoke French. And like when she was 14, just decided like, I don't want to speak French. I want to speak English because I'm here in the States. Her parents are from Canada, from Nova Scotia and Quebec.
Yeah.
This might be TMI. I don't know. But I just found it interesting because I remember at that time, I kind of relate to the grandpa here actually.
Yeah.
Where I was like, Grandma, why did you just stop learning French? Why didn't you teach your children?
Yeah.
I could be trilingual at this point.
Yeah.
But like French is hard.
Oh, it's super hard. My grandma spoke all French.
Yeah.
I mean, she spoke English, but
That's great.
She spoke French. Like, she's from Chicoutimi. It's a very small town in Quebec. Do I know French? No. I failed it like 8 times.
And you're like, Grandma, why didn't you teach me this?
Yeah. I'm like, Grandma, I gave you my homework and you wrote everything in slang, so I got everything wrong, Grandma.
She did your homework.
She did, yeah. My grandma's the best, man. I miss Grams.
Love that. And you still failed it.
I did because it was all in slang. I didn't like hand her my homework. I would like low key be asking her questions, so she'd be answering them, so I'd be writing them down. But it was all like French slang.
I love that so much. That reminds me also that like Marty, I'll say things to her sometimes because I learned Spanish the textbook way, and she grew up speaking it natively.
Right.
And I'll ask her questions about like conjugation and shit, and like future past tense, and she's like, I don't know what any of that means. I just know how to speak it.
Yeah. No, learning French. I've been trying to learn French recently.
Yeah.
And like masculine, feminine, all the, like, what did you just call them?
Conjugation?
Conjugations.
Yeah.
Like all of it is so, it's a lot.
Yes.
I don't know. I think the English language is also a mess. Like
It is. It absolutely is.
It's super messy, but like French is so hard. I'm like determined. I want to learn it.
I love languages. I love learning other languages. Yes.
Yeah.
Do it. You can do it.
Anywho,
It's in your blood.
Yeah, I'm French, man. Okay.
Anyway, Nikki does not want to learn the language. He wants to speak English.
Yeah, and he wants Grandpa to tell him the lore of Santa Claus.
Yes, and he starts to. He doesn't finish, but at this point, we just learned that Santa, allegedly, is the son of Satan and Erica, who was like a virgin. Mm-hmm. That's the story that we get so far.
Yeah, and I love Nicholas calls the book the Necronomicon.
Oh, yeah. he
Like
did say that.
casually, yeah. It's funny.
So the girlfriend comes over. Her name is Mac, right?
Yes, Mac. And I love her. She was in Lost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
So she comes over, she brings Grandpa some Wolverine, which I do just have to add a side note here. I was convinced this movie was shot in or supposed to be based in Michigan for a long time while I was watching, to where I had to start Googling it because of little tidbits here and there. I was like, wait, was this supposed to be shot in Michigan? It was supposed to be based in Canada.
Yeah, it's based. They filmed it in Canada. They were up in Edmonton, and I've listened to several now interviews with the director, and no time did he say anything about it being placed in Michigan or supposed to be in Michigan.
I just want to ask him. One day I'm going to ask him. I'm going to find him and ask him. I just want to know if like there was ever a talk about it being placed in Michigan, because there is a Hell, Michigan, and they're in Hell Township, Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay. They do the Wolverine thing, Michigan Wolverines. I'm just going to point out the little things here and there to where I was like, there's too many coincidences for Michigan and Detroit in this movie. I just thought it was weird.
I do wonder though, because you have told me things about Michigan that's similar to Canada.
Yes. And if it was in Ontario, I would understand because they're so close, but they were in like Western Canada.
Yeah. They're in Alberta, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just found that interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That could just be you like noticing something that like isn't really there, but your brains find patterns and things.
Very possible.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the next things we'll come across that I was like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
No problem.
So the girlfriend comes over. She brings this disgusting plate of like rotten Wolverine. The grandpa's really nice about it, but you know,
So
he's like,
gross.
"Oh, this looks great," and just walks away. She brings Nikki a present, which is a gun.
His reaction.
He's confused. We'll just say he's a little confused.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
That's all we're gonna say. And then he realizes it's not actually a gun. It's like a little transformer toy.
Yes, right.
So it opens up.
You had to explain that to me because I was like, wait, like transformer? Like, I don't know why.
You're thinking outside.
Yes, I was like, huh? I didn't get it.
A transformer, like a gigantic thing on the pole.
AK, explain it to me.
So here we cut to the church, and the pastor is collecting offerings. And we're seeing the plate get passed around, and they specifically show $1 with a Detroit D stamped on it. Okay, that's another one.
Oh yeah, and is it? It's Dave Thomas, right?
It's Dave Thomas is the pastor, yeah.
Who's from Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was on SCTV.
Yes.
He's pretty famous for that.
Yeah, I recognized him. And he goes straight to the strip club with this money. And so I think the reason they zoomed in on that D was because they show that same dollar being placed into one of the strippers' underwear. So you're like, okay, he's taking that money, the offerings, and going right to the strip club with it.
That's right. Yeah.
Not ethical.
Not even a little bit.
But interesting choice of stamp on it, if I do say so myself.
AK, it's like, even if this wasn't your intention, I'm going to make sure you people know that it could very well be.
Here are all the potential Michigan references. Prove me wrong. The director's like, I will tell you, you're wrong.
Yeah, he like calls you.
Yeah.
So like the valet pulls up, and the valet like takes his sleigh.
Yeah.
And by the way, his Santa has obviously a huge sleigh, but he's got a hell beast, which is actually a big ass bison.
Yes.
Which is the reindeer.
Yes.
So the sleigh pulls up, and the valet takes it. Okay. And then I want to say the bouncer calls him a fatty and won't let him into the club. So obviously Goldberg kicks his ass.
Yeah.
And he gets in.
Yeah. And then he comes in, he kicks everyone else's ass too.
Yes. And I think I pointed this out to you last night. On IMDb, it credits Vince Russo as one of the patrons.
Yeah, I didn't notice him.
Not true. He is not in the film.
Really?
Yes. I just listened to an interview with the director, and they ask specifically about Vince Russo being in the film, and the director puts on the record, no, he was not in the film. Those were actually a lot of the crew, because they obviously like they couldn't afford to get a ton of extras.
Yeah.
And so they used a lot of the crew. So I think the person that they're claiming is Vince Russo just looks like him.
Oh, you didn't tell me that yet. So that's a new tidbit for me.
Yeah, I just learned that this morning.
I love when you get confirmation.
I know, because but it's funny that IMDb is inaccurate, and it does say he's uncredited, but it surprises me that it's still on IMDb.
Yeah. Well, now someone needs to go change it.
Get on it.
Somebody correct this. So he walks into the strip club. He says, ho, ho, hose.
It's very clever.
Grabs one of the strippers, like, does a little dip, kisses her, comes back up. She's like mad, but then he points up to the mistletoe, and she looks up and she's like, well, you got me.
Well, I guess we have to now.
I guess it's okay, even though you didn't ask for consent. All right.
Oh, great.
So he starts beating everyone up. He's like choking people out with the lights. He even uses the whole stripper pole. He takes it, tosses it to someone, kicks it up into the light so they get electrocuted.
It's pretty cool.
That was pretty clever.
It's very creative.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then he deems all the girls naughty and sets the whole place on fire.
Sure does.
Not cool.
No.
So now we cut to Nikki and his girlfriend, Mac, and they're watching TV on the couch. And the grandpa's watching with them. He goes to bed, and he says something to her about like, oh, you think he's bananas, don't you? And she's like, no, he's just like a little, what does she call him?
She calls him like eccentric or something
odd.
like that.
That's
odd.
what it was.
And Nikki doesn't take this well. He proceeds to kind of go off about like, she doesn't know what it's like to live with this guy, blah, blah, blah. Like Nikki takes it very personally.
I thought it escalated fast.
Yeah, he's projecting for sure. Absolutely.
Also, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I was going to say, he asked her, like, he was like, do you think he's bananas? And she's like, he's just a little odd. And he got so mad.
He did. But like, to be honest with you, like, I think everybody has been in a situation where you ask like your spouse or your friend a question that you really don't want the answer to.
That's true.
And then they answered honestly. And you're like, I was looking for a lie.
I was looking for you to comfort me and tell me, no, everything's fine.
I think we should have a rule where you ask somebody like, for example, if I ask you, I need you to tell me something, do you want a hard truth or do you want me to like lie, essentially?
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair because sometimes in life you just want to be comforted.
That's true, but I also feel like that answers the question right there.
It's true, but sometimes, listen, the lies we tell ourselves and the lies we believe.
That's very true.
Anywho, but yes, he does. He gets upset and she's like, call me when you want to have a mature relationship.
I was like, yeah.
I know, I
Fair.
agreed. She left.
He also went off on her in that moment talking about her dad, like how he's a big game hunter, I guess, which does come into play later.
It does, yeah, he does. He touches on that, and you know, her dad, I guess, is like a real manly man and all that shit. I don't know, whatever,
Yeah, quote unquote.
Sure.
So he starts reading the Book of Claws because now he's alone and bored, and we get the whole lore here. So apparently he can read Icelandic. So there's that.
Yeah, because sometimes you can read but can't speak it, right?
Oh, it's way easier to read than speak.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking about Icelandic. I just meant like other languages.
in general, yeah.
So the story is that God sent down an angel, which took the form of an old man.
Didn't it remind you of It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes, or also like those old Christmas animated movies. The
Yeah.
stop motion.
Oh, Rudolph.
Yes.
It was like it reminded me of Rudolph and It's a Wonderful Life.
It really reminded me of Rudolph is the one with Heat Miser, right? Or is that a different one?
Who is Heat Meisner?
I must be talking about a different one. Is it Rudolph? The Island of Misfits or Land of Misfits?
Yeah, but who is this person?
Heat Miser. He's the I forget the other one's name. Heat Miser. He has like the flame hair. Is that a different movie? Okay, there's a bunch of stop motion movies, and I might be combining them.
Or I'm just like, I don't
He's
know.
like, I'm Mr. Heat Miser.
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't know.
It's okay. We're going to leave that though, because somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. I might be combining movies, but anyway, it's that stop motion.
It's the stop motion, which is so nostalgic. That's my
Yes.
favorite. Especially like love the Rudolph.
Yes. I just can't believe I just sang that.
No, I loved it. I loved it. And what is the angel's name from It's a Wonderful Life? Is it Clarence?
I don't remember. Oh, that sounds familiar though.
I love that movie. It
I'll
always
be
makes
honest
me
with
cry.
you. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen it in a really, really long time, so I don't remember most of it.
My grandma loved it and my dad loved it. So I watch it I watch it around the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cute one.
I'm going to watch it this year.
That's a good one.
So God sent down an angel, which took the form of an old man. Mm-hmm. We can already start to make some assumptions here.
Yep.
And Santa was basically bullying all the elves, like throwing them across the ice.
Who's such a dick.
Yeah, he really, really is. And because he's he's the devil, basically. This story is all like good and evil.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell.
He would be considered Damien, right? The son of Satan?
I guess. They don't call him that.
No,
but
they
yeah.
call him Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the angel challenged him to basically a game of curling, right? Is that what it's called?
Curling.
Where you like toss the thing on the ice, but you want it to go like not too far.
Yep.
And so if Santa lost, he had to turn Christmas Day from a day of slaying into a day of joy for the next 1,000 years.
Yeah, because the holiday of Christmas was it wasn't a pleasant day.
Yeah, it was a day where he was just coming and killing everyone.
Yes, the lore it was like they talk about it more in depth about what it actually entails. And off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what that is, but it's not a good day.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. Not a good day.
No.
And so, unsurprisingly to the story of this movie, the old man won.
Yeah, yeah.
So Nikki realizes, oh my gosh, that was exactly 1,000 years ago.
Uh-oh.
That's crazy. And so the bet is over.
Yes.
Which now we know is why Santa is on Earth destroying people. Mm-hmm. So Nikki goes online. He like goes to the Santa tracker.
Gonad.com.
Yeah, like I guess that was supposed to be Google.
I don't know, but can I just say how much I miss the old internet?
How it looked.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The internet, for anybody that I guess wasn't alive during the beginnings of the internet, it was like the Wild West.
It really was.
It was a very weird, wild place that wasn't just bombarded with advertisement. And like now when you Google something, you don't even get answers. It's so annoying. Like the internet back then was wild.
Do you remember waiting like 5 minutes for a page to load?
Oh,
And that was normal.
Oh, for sure.
You'd be like, okay, I'm going to type in wwf.com and then I'm going to walk away and do something for 5 minutes and I'm going to come back and hopefully the front page has loaded.
Yes, especially like at the library when I was in middle school, I would always go to the library and look at wwf.com.
That was me at my mom's job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have a computer. I didn't get a computer till like high school, I think.
I know that we had one, but our access was very limited.
Right.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, it was wild. Do you remember Yahoo Chats?
I remember AOL chat.
Oh my God. I mean, It's actually terrifying to think that we were just talking to people on the internet.
Well, my mom had us on lockdown.
Oh, no,
I don't even know how she knew to do that. I mean, other than she's a parent and like, you know, I don't understand this thing, so I'm going to lock it down.
Right.
Like we could only go on the internet for, I think it was an hour a day.
Whoa.
From 8 a.m. to like whatever, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. And I was on AOL Kids until I was like 16. She had parental controls on that shit. So I could not go in the chat rooms. I could go in the kids' chat rooms and they were lame as hell. But when I went to my cousin's house, my older cousin, that's when I would sit next to her when she was on the like adult chats telling people like 18F Michigan or whatever.
Whoa, ASL.
ASL, age, sex, location, baby.
Whoa, that's crazy. I did not have parental controls at all. Like it was just like,
Yeah.
I don't think my mom really knew.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
how would you know? And I'm actually surprised looking back on it that my mom did any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, the old internet, man, what a place to be.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
It was a great time. It was a
It
great
really
time
was.
to be
It
alive.
really was. What a time to be alive.
Okay.
I really love, I know this is a sidetrack. We can cut it or not. I don't care. But I just love that we were teenagers or like preteens in 2000.
Oh, dude.
Like that was
yes.
just like peak.
How old were you in 2000? I think I was 13, 14.
12, 13?
13, 14.
That makes sense.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I know. It was like the early 2000s were, especially like the late 90s into the 2000s were an interesting time.
And to be that age.
Yeah, dude.
I'm so happy.
What was it, Pen 13 you had me watch?
Pen 15.
Pen 15,
Yeah,
man.
because penis.
Oh, I never got that.
Really?
I never got
It
that.
looks like penis.
I never got that. I loved it though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really did. I was so happy. When you make a recommendation and your friend loves it, it's just like, oh yeah,
I know.
I did it.
It's the best, and I trust your recommendations because I get excited about everything, but AK will only get excited about specific things,
That's
and you're
true.
typically right.
That's true. But once again, we digress.
Yes, we do. Anywho,
So he goes on like a Santa tracker website and he's like asking the Santa tracker, is this real? Like, can I really track Santa? And they're like, first of all, how old are you? And he's like 16. And they're like, no, and neither is Santa.
yeah,
I was like, damn.
I was like, my God, but that is like the ruthlessness
Yeah.
of like the 90s 2000s.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie specifically really captures the humor, the vibes of that time.
Yeah.
Like, especially some of the dialogue.
Yeah, I would
It's-
agree.
Yeah, it's very of the time.
Yeah. So now it's Christmas Day. This is a random cutscene, but I just want to mention it because it's so funny. They show a random family. There are these two little bratty kids. They're like, okay, can we open our motherfucking presents now? And it was just so casual. And the mom's like, yeah. The grandma's very disturbed by this. They open their presents, they explode.
Oh, it's so great. Their heads just like
It's
blow
just
up.
like two little charred bodies, which sounds so disturbing, but it's done in such a comical way.
Yeah, yeah.
And the grandma's like, fuck.
I know her reaction. She's like, fuck. It's so good.
I just thought that was worth mentioning because it's funny.
It is,
So
yeah.
they show the pastor at church. He's praying for the dead strippers.
And he's sweating, man.
sweating profusely.
Yeah.
I think it's just because he's hoping no one realizes he was there when all this went down.
That's what you pointed out because I was like, why is it like, is the heat? What's going on here?
It is a stereotype for a pastor to be up there sweating, I guess. But when he's preaching, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's naming the strippers and they're all like puns. They're all it's all play on words. Like there's Dixie Wrecked.
Yeah.
There's Tess Tickler.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
And
he,
even when he's saying it, like it is like he's saying it uncomfortably.
he keeps looking up at everyone to see it. Yeah.
yeah.
So now we go back to the deli. Santa's banging on the deli door. The guy that owns the deli, he's like, get out of here. I'm not open yet. He doesn't care about the money. He's like, I'm
No.
not open yet.
Yeah.
Santa punches through the door, turns the open sign to open, and then kicks open the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wanted to make sure he was welcome. And he spears the deli owner through the glass deli counter. So another wrestling move.
Which he did himself.
Did he?
He did. Yeah.
Through the glass?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him. He's like, I want to make sure the spear is done right. This is my signature move.
That's honestly what I was thinking
Yeah.
when it happened. I was like, well, he's got to hit a spear.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes way more sense than hitting a jackhammer because I'm surprised he didn't slip that in there too somewhere.
What's a jackhammer?
Oh, man, I should probably look up and make sure that's
Oh my
right.
God. I'm
that
like,
what
you
it's
just
called?
started. Okay. Yeah. For those not watching, AK just started like tugging on like a tugboat. That was her like,
Well, that was my suplex motion.
oh. When I think suplex, I think this. Like, I think like grabbing someone's arm and putting it around your neck. And then
Oh.
doing
Well,
a
this is-
heave ho.
I know. It's because I'm sitting. Oh, yeah, it's a jackhammer. It's a vertical suplex power slam.
Oh.
That sounded so technical. It's because I'm reading it. It's a vertical suplex power slam. Hold on, should we cut this or should we leave it?
It's so funny.
I want to cut it.
No, it's so good.
I could not. I was like, wait a minute. I know it's a suplex, but it's not just a suplex. I had to like go back and look at it.
It's called a jackhammer.
It's a vertical suplex power slam.
That's like if you're trying to explain wrestling to someone.
Yeah.
What is a vertical suplex? Whatever the fuck you just said. Oh my God.
Anyway, I was surprised he didn't slip a jackhammer in there, which is a vertical suplex power slam. If you don't know.
I'm a professional wrestler and I didn't even know what the hell that was.
Well, it's funny because I immediately knew the name without even thinking about it. I knew that was his finisher.
Yeah.
But I could not tell you technically what that move was.
Yeah.
In move terms.
I understand.
I do that all the time, even
Me
in
too.
matches. I'm like, the fucking thing.
I do it all the
You
time.
know the thing? I forget the name of it, but it's like this thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever heard me calling a match, like the things that come out of my mouth, I'm like, I always like, Jerry Lynn always gets a kick out of watching me do it because I'm like, okay, ga-jing, okay, grab this. Yep, the bebop boop. Like I'm just making sounds.
Oh my gosh. Do you do the thing where you just say fuck every other word? You're like, and then the fucking
And then the fucking this,
and then
and
you
then-
fuck off, and then we fuck off over here.
Yeah. Okay, then you fuck me. Like I say it all the time.
Yeah.
And then people are watching this and they're just like, excuse you?
Is that just like the generation we came up in?
For sure, I think
Okay.
so. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So anyway, he spears the deli owner through the glass counter, and then he sticks him to a wall with a menorah. Mm-hmm. Really gross. Mm-hmm. And just, sacrilegious, it feels like.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so Nikki ends up finding him. So he goes back and he finds him stuck to the wall, and he like starts to kind of.
He's trying to like pull the thing. I mean, right. Like I think as a person you would like, you're trying to save the guy. Right. So like, and he's a kid, like he's trying to help him. And
You're just trying to do something to help and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he says to Nikki at that time, Santa is real.
Yeah.
And then dies.
Yeah. And then the cops come in and the cop, he's such a typical, like, asshole.
Yeah, like a very so what's going on here?
Oh, like, and he immediately suspects that the kid was involved and they take him down to the station.
Yeah, which I guess I don't fault them for. Like they did walk in and he's there, but also just the way he's just very insensitive, which is very
and really cocky.
Yes.
It's just like, oh my God.
He like makes some type of remark about the guy being pinned to the wall and says it in like a very crass way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just a dick. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you.
No, you go. So we go to the station.
Yeah.
Right? And Nicholas is being interviewed by the captain. I think it's a captain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Captain Bush or something?
Captain Cock.
Captain Cock. Okay.
Caulk. Cock. But one thing that did bother me when we rewatched is that I realized, I also forgot to mention in the beginning of the episode, where you can find the streaming right now is like the Stars app through Prime.
Oh, yeah. I think I rented it on Fandango.
I was going to say, I watched a different version the first time by myself, and I guess unintentionally watched an extended cut. Mm-hmm. It must be like a Blu-ray edition or something, because when I watched it, there was a different scene here. And I remember telling you, I was like, wait, did we miss this part? And you're like, I don't remember that. But in the police station, Nikki has a back and forth with one of the officers. And it's a back and forth where he's like, do you prefer, because he sees Captain Bush and Captain Cock on the wall, like their pictures. And he's like, oh, so you like, do you prefer Bush or do you prefer Cock? And he's like, I don't know. I think I prefer Cock. And he's like, oh yeah. And it keeps going back and forth like that.
Yeah.
But they totally cut that out.
That's crazy because that is like a funny bit.
It is funny. And then but we do see this guy that he's talking to. His name is Dick Zucker.
Dick Sucker.
And then he goes into the office and is talking to Captain Cock.
Yeah. And Captain Cock, like surprisingly, I thought maybe they were going to hold on to this kid longer, but I mean, Captain Cock like doesn't believe anything the kid's saying. And he basically just tells him to fucking leave.
Yeah. He has better things to do. It's Christmas Day.
Yeah. Like he's not. And so I was actually like, oh, okay. They're not like holding on to this kid.
Yeah.
He kind of realizes like and then once he realizes, like he says something about the grandpa being crazy.
Yeah.
In the scene.
Yeah. And so Nikki now, he thinks that they have to make it to the end of Christmas Day at the North Pole specifically. He's thinking like, oh, the time zone here is the same time zone as Greenwich and da-da-da.
Yeah, like
whatever.
once it hits midnight in the North Pole, basically Santa Claus won't have any more power.
Right.
Is like the idea behind it.
Right. And so Santa is now, he's trying to find the grandpa, it seems, throughout this movie.
For sure. And he's like hunting for him.
Yes. He's following Nikki because he knows that Nikki is going to lead him there.
Yep.
And so he comes into the police station after that, after Nikki leaves. He kills the other officers and he tases Captain Cock in his cock.
Oh my God. I was like, I mean, if you're not watching the video, AJ just like demonstrated where a penis comes from.
I was going to say balls, but I'm like, I feel like I have to say.
You have to say it.
I have to say it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Nikki and Mac are driving away at this point, and Santa gets on the bed of their truck.
Yeah.
And is like trying to break in the back of the truck, and Nikki shoots him with a shotgun.
Yeah, he's like holding on, and you know, it's a whole struggle, and yeah, he ends up shooting with, and it's funny too because Mac is trying to tell Nikki how to put the bullets in the shotgun, and Nikki's like, "What? What do I do?" Like but that would be me. I wouldn't know what to do either.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense that she would know because her dad is like a hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She takes charge a lot in this, actually.
Oh, she totally does. Yeah.
She's a little badass.
I love her.
And so they get home, they go into the basement of the grandpa. He's immediately like, okay, were you followed here by Santa? Because if so, we are in danger, girl.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He didn't say that. But...
No, but yeah. Yeah, it's a sentiment for sure.
And so he's like, I built this as a shelter, not a fortress.
Yeah, he's basically saying, because they get into the bunker, and he's basically saying, like, yeah, we can hide in here for a minute, but like, you know, it's not that safe.
Right. And as smart as Mac is, this part did annoy me. There's carolers at the door.
Oh my God.
And they see.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. When shit like this happens in movies, it makes me want to start screaming.
Yes, because you want logic to be used, and also she's been portrayed as such a smart character.
And this is such a stupid move.
Yeah, and I guess you could say she's trying to save these people.
No.
I'm trying to find reasons.
Like, yeah, that is why she runs up. So these carolers come to the door and they're like singing, and she's like, "Oh my God, we have to warn them!" And she runs upstairs and opens the front door.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
She's like, get out of here, everyone. And then, of course, Santa is already there because he followed them.
Honestly, I was so like, it sounds like I'm getting really upset over something really small. I just hate. I hate when characters that are smart characters do stuff like that.
Yeah, it'd be different if she was just like a ditz the whole time, but it's like, that doesn't make sense. I feel like you wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You're smarter than that.
For sure.
But whatever. So I'm like, we can say she was being selfless in that moment. We'll just go with that.
She cares.
Yeah, she cares too much because Santa is there. He starts destroying everyone. He gets a second gorilla press in.
Oh, yeah. You have to, right?
You got to.
I do not fuck with those, by the way.
Gorilla press?
There's no way I'm getting up there.
No one has ever gorilla pressed me because I'm usually like the bigger girl in the match.
Right.
Maybe if I wrestled some guys, maybe I would get gorilla pressed.
No, I'm not going up there. That is something I will not do. That's way too high up for me.
Really?
Yeah, because all I think about is like, I have no protection. Like, I can base and hold myself up, but like, what if your ankle rolls?
Yeah.
What if,
and you just go like head first?
Yeah, dude. I mean, my neck is so bad that I'm just like, there's no way.
You got to look out for number one.
Yeah. So anyway, nobody asked, but in case you were curious.
In case you were curious about what moves we will and will not take.
Not volunteering to take a gorilla slam or whatever the fuck it is.
Gorilla press into like a slam.
No, thank you.
So Santa breaks down the door here. And the grandpa, they're already leaving at this point. They're already like, okay, we got to get out of here. Santa goes down to the bunker. He sees on the monitors that they have down there that they're about to escape on snowmobiles. But there's only two of them. So Nikki and Mac are starting to escape.
Yeah.
The grandpa is still out there.
Yeah, I think grandpa at this point knows that he has to stay behind while they go.
So Santa goes outside, and for the first time, he is face to face in this movie with grandpa.
Yeah.
And we get the confirmation that I think we were already piecing together that grandpa was the old man in that story. So grandpa says something to him about like, oh, it's been a while or something, like, looks like you packed on a few pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And Goldberg's delivery here sounds like a wrestling promo. I could not get that out of my head.
It totally did.
He even says something at one point that's like, which reminds me of like, something, brother.
It really was like wrestling promo 101.
It really was.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a wrestler, so what do you want?
I loved it.
So grandpa gets quite literally almost run over by a reindeer or a rain bison in this case.
Oh, the bison.
And then Santa stomps on his head, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I was, the first time I saw this, I couldn't believe grandpa died so fast.
Same. I was like it was kind of off camera, so I was like, oh, he can't be dead.
Yeah.
Like, he has to come back.
Yeah.
That was shocking to me.
Me
but
too.
he straight up killed Grandpa like that.
Oh, he did, yeah.
But it also makes sense, and I'm kind of glad they did it like that, because why would Grandpa be able to fight him?
For sure. Yeah,
has,
he's
like,
Goldberg.
I was going to say he has superpowers, and he's like Satan. No, he's Goldberg.
Goldberg, man. Who's next?
And the old man is just an old man.
Yeah.
So, like that, he's just gone. Now, Santa is chasing Nikki and Mac. And at first, we were both like, why is he chasing them if Grandpa's already dead?
Yeah.
But I think he just wanted to eradicate the whole, like, bloodline.
Yeah, that's what you said, and that makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah.
So Santa just happens to pick up the pastor en route to chasing Nikki and Mac.
It's so funny. The pastor's like running for his life, and
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, because the town is all getting together to take a picture in front of the Christmas tree and
Yeah.
like the town square or whatever.
Yeah.
And Santa comes on his sleigh, and then the pastor is like, what does he say? He says like, get out of the way, bitch, or something.
Skank.
Skank.
It was a very early 2000s insult.
Oh my God. Do you remember? Skank was such an insult back then.
Like, it would burn.
Yeah.
You would feel that.
Someone would call you a skank, and you're like,
Like, hoe was one thing, but skank,
Skank.
that has some emphasis on it.
oh, that's a terrible thing to say. I'm glad we don't say that anymore.
It's just, it doesn't hit the same.
No. Agreed. But yeah, so he like, it just screams like how horrible of a person the pastor is. He just pushes all these people out of the way, and he's like, move, skanks. And
Yeah.
he's like running, and Santa's like coming up on him. So you
Yeah.
you want him to see him get caught.
Oh, I wanted him to get run over.
Yeah, me too.
Unfortunately, that's not even what he does here.
No.
The bison like flips the pastor into the air. He like rotates, lands in the sleigh,
Yeah.
and then I was about to say Goldberg, but it is. But Santa knocks him out. Like,
Yeah.
psh,
Yep.
a little punch. And so here Nikki and Mac are breaking into a school.
Oh, this is so great because Nikki is like trying to be this like tough guy, and he like
Yeah.
wraps his hand with his jacket and goes to punch through a window in the school, but he just bounces right off of it and hurts
Yeah.
his hand. And Max like looks at him and is just like, and she grabs something and breaks the window.
Yeah. As he's like trying to get this barrel that's like chained to a fence or something. And
Yeah.
she just is like, I got it.
Yeah,
I'll take
she's
care of
like,
it.
take it easy, okay?
Yeah. And then he's helping her get through the window.
Oh my God.
I know this pissed you off. He's helping her get through the window. And, you know, he puts her in like legs first. And he's like, you're going to have to suck it in. Like,
Why
first
would
of
you
all,
say that? That's
Also-
your girlfriend.
Yes. Not only that, but like, use your brain. She's wearing this thick ass coat. You think she's going to suck that in?
Yeah, like I thought that was just it was obviously just a line to be funny.
Yeah.
Again, sign of the times.
Yes. And even this next part, which logically it bothered me. She's like, you're gonna have to push from the top. And he just kind of pauses, and she's like, oh, Nicholas, am I gonna be the only one that makes the first move in this relationship? And she grabs his hands and puts them on her boobs. And all I could think was, that's not where you would push.
No, exactly.
You would
yeah.
push her from the shoulders.
For sure. It's
That
like-
just annoyed me.
Yeah, like the whole thing, like suck it in, pushes her boobs. Like it's obviously just a bit,
Yeah.
and it's just a bit that is of the times.
It is, but I also think it would have been funnier because she's smart. I feel like if she's like, push from the top,
And then he put
went
his
to
hand on the boobs, and she's like, "No, you idiot,
Yes.
push me." Yes, I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But anyway,
Any hoogly boos.
either way, he's pushing her through the window. And so now he's telling her once again, they only have to last till midnight when Christmas is over and this is all going to be done. Mm-hmm. Okay. Santa at this point has taken off his jacket, so he looks like a ripped lumberjack.
No, he for real does. And also, like, the alarm in the school is going off.
Yeah.
So, and Santa knows exactly where they are.
Yes. And Nikki and Mac are hiding in the library.
Yo, Goldberg looks huge.
Lumberjacked, if you will.
No, for real. He is. Yeah, he looks jacked.
So the only reason this is relevant that I even mentioned that they went to the library is because I just thought it was so funny when they're escaping, because of course he finds them. As they're escaping, Goldberg just whips a book at Nikki's head. He turns around just in time to get blasted right in the forehead
Like
with a
right
book.
behind the eyes. Like
Yes.
behind the eyes, right between the eyes.
Yes.
Like boom.
And he's like, oh, and as he's running, he's like, that really hurt.
It was so good.
I loved that.
I did too. I thought that was a great gag. That was funny.
So they stumble into an ice rink, which I feel like is a very Canadian thing to have
I know.
at a school.
It like excited me. I was like, oh my God, they have a rink.
I was like, they have an ice rink at the school? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's Canada.
Yeah, maybe in Alberta they do that. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We definitely did not have one in my school.
No, me neither. I wish we did.
So Goldberg pulls a page out of Stone Cold Steve Austin's book and rides in on a motherfucking Zamboni which also, by the way, happened in Detroit. I don't think that was a reference, but I just want you to know.
I love that he was on a Zamboni.
Yeah.
Have you ever ridden on a Zamboni?
No.
My dad used to run like hockey arenas, so I definitely got to ride the Zamboni. That was a big deal.
Does it just like glide smoothly?
Kind of, yeah. It's like
okay.
a big ass machine. I don't know. It's like, I was pretty young, but
Okay.
yeah.
It was fun.
I love ice rinks. By the way, I love the smell of ice rinks.
Yeah, you've been ice skating a lot.
Figure skating. Yeah,
I barely know how.
yeah. I didn't until I started figure skating last year.
Maybe one day I'll come with you and I'll have the little walker and I'll be going around.
I would love to teach you.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
But for real, like there's something about the smell of an ice rink that is like a warm hug.
Aww.
It has such a specific smell, and I feel like anyone that like plays hockey or like grew up in arenas will totally like. It's just a very specific. I have such fond memories of being at the hockey arenas.
Oh, I love that. I don't know that smell, but I love that.
Next time we're together and we go to a fucking hockey arena, take a deep breath in, and you're gonna be like, okay, I know what you're talking about.
We're gonna walk in. You're like, take a whiff.
Smell it.
So he rides it on the Zamboni. He almost corners them and smashes Nikki and Mac with the Zamboni.
Yeah, it's like a and like it's slowly coming at him, and then Grandpa. Well, it's not technically Grandpa, but something launches a curling stone at the Zamboni and like stops the Zamboni right before crushing Mac and Nicholas.
Yes.
And it looks like it's see-through. Like it looks like it's
Angelic, if you will.
beautiful way to describe it, AK, yes.
And then we pan over and we do see what looks like Grandpa, also with the same see-through angelic glow around him.
Yeah, Grandpa.
I know, he's so sweet and he's in all white.
Yeah, he's the angel.
He is. He's an angel. He came back to save his grandson and Mac, I guess. But
yeah, sure.
And Santa reveals that he found Grandpa so easily because of a letter that Nikki sent him as a kid.
Yeah.
And that he knew that Nikki would lead him to Grandpa. So it like literally said like, oh, my grandpa's at curling practice.
That's so like to use that kid's little letter against him is so terrible because the letters you write to Santa are like kind of sacred.
Yeah.
Like you're, like that's like a special thing.
It's
like
very vulnerable.
Yeah. I don't actually remember writing any because I was very scared of Santa, but like that the idea of that to me is like sacred.
I feel like I can't just pass that over. I need to know why you were so scared of Santa.
I was scared of Santa, man.
Because of movies?
No, just the whole idea of like a man, like a big ass man.
Say no more.
Who would you want to be trapped in the woods with, a bear or Santa? He's just this big man that just like comes into your house.
Yeah.
The whole idea of it really scared me. And I remember my mom took me to Santa a couple times and I cried a lot, but she did get one good picture of me. But it looks like I'm reaching for her. It's kind of sad. I think like I was just not a fan. Not a fan.
That makes a lot of sense though. Why you would hear that story and be like, wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah, like I don't want this man in a suit coming here and eating my cookies and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing good came from that. And I knew my dad was Santa anyways.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Grandpa at this point challenges Santa to another curling match. And he says Santa says this time I get to set the stakes, which he kind of didn't. I guess he did for Grandpa. So Grandpa says if he wins, Santa has to be good forever, basically. And Santa says that if Santa wins, Grandpa has to jump into the hellhole that he had created on the ice where his soul will be enslaved for all eternity. If you ask me, that's not really even stakes.
I'd say no.
But I guess that just speaks to who they are. This whole scene, for some reason, feels like a Disney movie to me.
Okay, I turned and looked at you and I said, this is reminding me of like the Mighty Ducks.
Yes, that, and I think it's the music and it's the way Santa reacts. Like the grandpa does something, he goes first and he has like a good score. I don't even know what you talk about or how you say it for a curling match, but basically his curling stone goes to the edge of the hole and doesn't go over.
That's right.
Long story short. And so, Santa's like, dang, like it was just such a very Disney reaction.
For sure, yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be like, the stakes are very high here. He's going to be enslaved for all eternity. When it's Santa's turn, he just yeets Grandpa into the hellhole.
I mean, just takes him and just like, phew, like
literally yeet.
Yeah, no, for real. He does, yeah.
Which is a very, I guess, this version of Santa thing to do.
For sure.
Now it hits midnight. We don't know what happened to Grandpa yet, but it hits midnight. And so Nikki's like, all right, it's midnight. Like, it's over. And nothing happens. And Santa tells him basically time doesn't exist at the North Pole, or like the time zones don't exist.
Yeah, because like it's like all the time zones together.
Yeah,
or
they all
something.
meet. They all meet. And so basically Christmas is over when he says it's over.
Yes.
So Nikki's assumption was incorrect. Nikki at this point pulls out the nutcracker from earlier in the movie, shoots Santa as Santa spits a fireball out of his mouth at the same time, like Bowser.
Which makes sense because when we saw the little stop motion, he does breathe fire.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what reminded me of Heat Miser. I'm going to have to show you who Heat Miser is.
Heat miser.
And so and then Nikki goes, chestnut.
Yeah, because Grandpa had snuck I almost called it a walnut shooter. Grandpa stuck the chestnut nutcracker gun in Nikki's bag.
Yeah. And said, like, the best gifts are practical ones.
The best gifts are practical ones. True.
Also very true.
No, so true. Don't give me junk. Give me something I can use.
Right. Like a nutcracker that shoots chestnuts into people's chests.
Exactly.
And so it really just knocks down Santa. And this gives Nikki and Mac enough time to pull Grandpa out of the hole because he was just hanging on the edge.
He actually didn't Grandpa stick a knife in the ice and was like hanging on to
maybe,
that? That's what it
maybe.
looked like to me. Where he
Maybe.
got the knife, I don't know, but he is very resourceful and smart.
Yeah. And he's like, supernatural now.
Yeah, true.
So they pull Grandpa out of the hole and they just show Santa driving away on the Zamboni,
Yeah.
just like casually.
Yeah.
And Grandpa seals the hole here. Santa goes out to the sleigh, knocks out the pastor again, who's now waking up. And I was like, what is he going to do with him? I was so curious.
Yeah.
Grandpa tells Nikki Santa's bluffing. He's powerless now.
Yes, exactly.
Because I was wondering, like, why did he not stay and kill them? And so they're all trying to leave. Grandpa can't leave the ice rink. He gets hit by like an invisible force.
Grandpa.
Yeah. And he's like, it's okay. I'll be watching, and like disappears. That was kind of sad.
I know. Like, I'll always be with you.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
So Nikki and Mac find some hunters at this point, and they try to convince them to help them shoot down this bird deer. I was a little confused by this part.
Yeah, like basically they convinced them like you'll never, like, this is a once in a lifetime thing. You're gonna kill like a buck in the sky or something like
flying
that.
deer, and like you'll go down in history. And,
Yeah.
And this group of hunters is like, all right, we believe you.
Yeah, and one of the men had like the type, like when you smoke too much and you can't talk anymore, so you have to use an electric thing.
Like for the voice box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember those commercials. They were scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
One of the parts of this that confused me the most is that Nikki's like, I'll do the special bird deer call. And he does this whistle. And I'm like, how did he know how to do that? I was just a little unclear, but fine. We'll just suspend our disbelief.
Do you think he read it in the book? In the
We'll go with
Icelandic
that.
reading?
We'll go with that.
Okay.
Let's just say he knew how to do this because he read the Book of Claws. It was in the Book of Claws. So all the hunters, they start blasting. Okay. They shoot the bison, who falls from the sky, and Santa, quote unquote, also falls from the sky. And we learn that, oh, by the way, the bison was shot down by a bazooka, which was Mac's dad. We're like, oh yeah, he's a big game hunter. This makes sense why he would have a fucking bazooka.
Yeah, by the way, that was a real bison being hoisted up by a harness in front of a green screen.
That is insane to me.
Goldberg and the sleigh with the bison, they all together, they shot that on a blue screen or green screen.
So in that extended cut that I watched the first time, they show a bunch of behind the scenes clips during the credits or after the credits. And I saw a clip of the green screen with what you just said, the sleigh,
Yeah.
Goldberg, and a bison. I thought that was a puppet.
No, that was a bison. That was a real bison. They could only shoot for like a minute or two at a time because the bison was so heavy.
Well, yeah.
I don't love that. I'm not going to
No,
lie to you. Like,
I don't either.
don't love that.
That's crazy to me. Also, I understand they probably wanted the sleigh and the bison to not be level,
Yeah.
but you could have shot that on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, apparently like the Humane Society was there, like there was animal like protection people there, but like I get really weird anytime like animals are involved in movies in that sort of way.
Suspended by their heads from
I mean, or just like in an uncomfortable position
Yeah.
for them. Like it makes me feel icky.
I can't imagine the bison were loving that.
No, and there were two of them.
Okay.
There were two that I guess they would run away a lot. So they were always trying to like like rile them together.
Like, why couldn't you put everyone on the ground, put the sleigh a little elevated, have the bison just like front 2 hooves up on a little platform to where they're just like, you know, that looks like they're in the air. No, I don't know. I don't make movies, so maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But
I don't know, but the bison's names were Ronnie and Apache. And the reason they went with bison is because they were in Canada and that's what they could get.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought it made more sense for Goldberg to have something bigger than a reindeer.
No, I mean, I think it works using a bison. I do. I just don't love that he was hoisted up in the air.
No, I'm shocked that you told me that because I was 100% convinced. I just casually was like, oh, that's a puppet. Like, wow, how impressive. What a crazy puppet.
Right. And I do want to say also, they weren't hurt. Like, it's not like these animals were hurt in the filming of the movie or anything like that. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were wondering what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, it just makes you feel weird.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, Santa fell from the sky, quote unquote, and he's impaled on a flagpole. And they realize it's the pastor. So this was real. When I say real, I'm also using quotes. Santa's plan all along.
Yeah, he used a decoy.
Decoy, perfect way to put it. So Nikki and Mac, for some reason, start making out here.
Yeah, like it's like the happy ending.
Yeah, like they're kind of like picking on each other and there's some little cute quips and then they start kissing. But I'm like, there's like an impaled guy next to you.
But I think that's the comedy of it, right? Like it's that like, because they do have that sort of rom-com, like their scenes specifically, it kind of is that like, what is it called? Like Hallmark kind of like little banter and stuff. So I feel like that moment on the backdrop of like someone being impaled is actually so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. So then they show Santa, who's now at the airport.
I love this scene, man.
Dressed like Biker Taker for some reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And
do you think that's just how Goldberg dresses at the time?
I could totally see that.
Or do you think it was trying to get the point across that he's like a badass?
I was just going to say that. It could be both, really.
Yeah.
So what did she call him? Mr. Satan.
Yeah.
And he goes, actually, it's Shaitan.
Yeah, I thought that was actually really funny too.
Yeah. And like he's going to check his bags. Of course, it's just a giant sack.
Oh, her cell was so great. Like she's just looking at it like.
Yeah, she was like, what did she say? Something about like, has your sack been with you the whole time?
Yeah.
And he just looks at her and she's like, she makes a little expression like, okay.
It's pretty funny. And she tells him like, okay, you'll be connecting in Winnipeg and then you'll go to the North Pole.
Yeah. So he's going back to the North Pole. And this is the end of the movie. We see the closing credits.
We do. But before we do, he walks into like, he gets his ticket and he walks over to the area, like the waiting area before you board, and sits down with all the other passengers. Yeah. And I don't know why it was so relatable to me.
Because he sat right between 2 old ladies and he's wide as hell.
He's ginormous.
And there were other open chairs. He didn't have to sit there.
No, but like, okay, question. This is why it made me laugh so much. One, it's just he's such a large man.
Yeah.
But the normalcy of that.
Yes.
Like when you go to the airport and like, you're waiting to board and you need to find a place to sit. It's like sometimes there's only one open seat.
Yeah.
And it's super uncomfortable or tight, or you're in like a group with like a family.
Oh my gosh.
And you have all your shit and you're just dying to get on the plane.
Yeah. It sucks when you have to go squeeze between someone because you just want a little bit of privacy and there is no privacy at the airport.
Yes.
Unless you go to the bathroom.
No, true. Sometimes I will just sit on the toilet with my phone.
I was just going to say that. If it's not busy. I don't want to be a jerk.
Okay, right. Like I feel like we have to put these parameters out so people don't think we're complete assholes. But like if it's a slow day and there's like nothing going on, I'll sit just for peace.
I do the exact same thing where I'm like, I just need to be alone. I don't want anyone looking at me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, yes, we're on the same page.
It's like sensory overload.
Exactly.
And I thought that scene was just, I mean, I'm going to use the word brilliant because I just thought like seeing this massive man. Yeah. You know, have to do this mundane thing of like, well, now he has to wait to board the flight. I love when movies do shit like that.
His sleigh is gone.
Yeah, and also it's like, I don't know why, I always think it's funny in movies when like you see characters doing mundane things.
Yeah, especially because he's been this like entity.
That's it. It's like why I loved In a Violent Nature. I liked watching the killer walking. I don't know because it's like you don't usually get to see really how long did it take you to get to the cabin, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, can I tell you that recently I was at the airport and there was no one sitting around me, a bunch of empty chairs and this group of girls. They were just young girls and I think they I don't know, they've never flown before, came and sat right next to me, literally in the chair next to me and all the surrounding chairs. And they were all talking to each other at full volume.
Okay. Can I give you like a thought I have on that?
Please do.
Okay. So I don't know if this is true or not.
Okay.
But I think this is a trait of human beings that we naturally, subconsciously want to stay in groups for like safety.
That's what I was wondering, because that was bizarre to me.
Yes, but like it happens all the time. Like think about it. If you're in line somewhere and there are many open lines, sometimes people will come right behind you, right beside you.
Yeah.
Or like, that's a bad example. But like,
no, it's not, because I think that if you see someone standing there, you go, okay, this is where I'm supposed to go.
This is where I'm supposed to go. And I think there is like some from like, you know, when we were like living in the jungle and shit or whatever, you know, like when we didn't have actual like shelter and shit.
Yeah.
And we had to like survive.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes from, because how many times has that happened?
Yeah.
Where something is completely, or and someone will come and just be right beside you, even though there's a whole empty room.
It was bizarre to me, because normally that doesn't happen. You space yourselves out. And I was trying to think of it that way. I was like, maybe because they're a little bit younger, they weren't kids, but they were like, just, I don't know. I get the impression they don't fly often by just how they were acting and everything. Yeah. And I was like, I wonder if they're coming to me for safety, or they feel safe sitting by me and not like over by, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you have no idea. Yeah. It's hard to gauge it.
I'm trying to be empathetic, but I was like so annoyed also, where I'm like,
it's the airport.
Was over here trying to have like as much peace as I can find
before being stuffed into a tin with a bunch of other people.
Yes. Yeah. And now they're over here, not just sitting next to me, but like loudly talking. I got up and walked away.
Was it in the morning?
It a second. Yes. And it was after that canceled flight I told you about.
No.
So you already know. So you already know. But I gave it a second and I was like, I have to walk away because I just want like silence. But when on what you were saying, like to that point, that also happens when we're driving. I don't know if this has ever happened to you.
Yep.
You stop at a red light.
Yep.
And the car next to you stops exactly next to you.
Yes.
When they have a lot of room, like maybe there's cars in front of you, they have so much room, but for whatever reason, they stop lined up perfectly with you. That always freaks me out, because at least this has happened to me. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but there have been times where people do that on purpose to fuck with you.
Yes, it's happened to me too.
And if you look over, it's usually some man who's trying to be creepy or like make faces at you or be disgusting or
it's happened
follow
to me.
you. I've been followed.
I have too. Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It is.
So if somebody pulls up next to me, I never look.
I don't either. I never look anymore, ever. I think it's like part of the human condition. It's that following someone too, right? It's like I need to follow. Like obviously this person, I think it's a subconscious thing.
Is. When you said subconscious, I was like, yes, because that's what I assumed, because sometimes that has happened and then that car will start to drive and I do glance over and it'll be like a little old lady.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm like, okay, she just subconsciously lined up with me.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is something, it's some phenomenon. I don't know.
Sorry, we just decided to dive into that psychology, but I am so curious about it.
No, I am too, because I feel like everyone can relate to that.
Yes.
Right?
So as far as the movie goes, here are the closing credits. If you watch the extended version, there are a bunch of fun little Easter eggs where you see behind the scenes clips, like we mentioned, the green screen, things like that. A lot of bloopers. And then also another Detroit reference. There is a song playing at the end of the credits that's called Christmas in Detroit.
I love
and
how
I was
you're like, listen, guys.
I just thought it was so weird because I was convinced throughout the movie, and then I was like, oh, I guess not, after I Googled it. And then it's like Christmas in Detroit. And I was like, okay, what the fuck?
I feel like it's just fucking with you.
They're like taunting me. And no matter which version you do watch, at the very, very end, there's an Easter egg that shows Goldberg opening his list, looking at the camera and saying, "Who's next?" Which, if you are a wrestling fan, you know that was his catchphrase in WCW.
It was. Yay, the end.
The motherfucking end.
I love this movie. I think it's funny as hell, man.
It's very silly. I definitely think it's worth, if you've never seen it, at least watch it once.
Yeah.
The opening scene is wild.
I think just the opening. If you don't watch anything else, at least watch the opening scene.
Yeah, it's very fun.
It is. Can I tell you some facts about the movie?
Please do. I've been waiting.
So I have such an appreciation for movies, especially after doing research on them. And
yes,
because like we were talking about in an earlier episode, like making movies is really hard. Getting movies made is really, really hard. anyways, David Steinman wrote and directed this movie. And I will link an interview in the show notes so you guys can listen to it if you'd like to. But he talks about the process of making this movie, getting Goldberg signed on for this movie, which is wild.
Yeah.
I want to say this might have been his very first movie. Sorry, David Steinman's first movie.
Okay.
But how it kind of came to be was he went to a set at some point and fell in love with making movies. Like he fell in love with the whole idea of what it was like behind the scenes, how it comes to be, all the different positions. He's had different positions. He was a PA, and he was on the set of Rush Hour 2. They were in Hong Kong on like a harbor in Hong Kong, and there wasn't a whole lot to do. So he was playing around with the word Satan and came up with the idea of Santa being like evil. He also got to watch Jackie Chan doing his stunts and the creativity of his stunts. And that made him think, oh, I would love to have like a bad guy do those things in a movie.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where the idea came from. Those two ideas merged together.
Yeah.
And he wrote it. But to get Goldberg signed on for it, he wasn't a wrestling fan at the time, but his friend Josh was.
Okay.
Josh brought him to, I don't know if it was a WWF or WCW event. I wasn't really into wrestling at that time, so I'm not totally sure. You're going to love this fact, though, because I'm going to lay something on you that you were searching for last night.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so they go to this wrestling event. Not only were they front row, but they also had backstage passes. And David was very taken by Goldberg's, like, the response Goldberg got from the audience. It was like, you know, he was super over, right?
Yeah.
So they go backstage, and he says that when he saw Goldberg in the ring like that, he was like, this is who I want for Santa. Like, this is who I want for this movie.
What a wild sentence.
Yeah, right?
That's who I want to be Santa.
No, I know, right? And like, such a like a movie making mind.
Yeah.
Right? So they go backstage, he meets him, they go for dinner. He pitches the idea to him very loosely, and Goldberg is excited by this. So he makes a one shot, which is what we were talking about before, where I think that's what it's called, where you basically make like a poster, a movie poster.
Yeah.
He also heard that Roger Corman was interested in the movie, which is a huge deal, right? But in any event, he goes to Spider-Man 2, the set of Spider-Man 2, because apparently Goldberg was in that. I don't recall.
Okay.
And he shows him the poster that he created of and Goldberg was in. He said, yep, let's do it. Like, I'm into this.
Wow.
And and so, you know, he does talk about the challenges of shooting. I guess they tried to shoot in many different places, but they couldn't get enough tax breaks for it. The studio or the producers or somebody really wanted him to shoot in Romania. There was a lot of like, it was interesting the journey he went on to get the film made.
Yeah.
But they ended up doing it in Alberta. Because good tax credits and all that shit. But he sings the praises of the cast, not only the cast, but the crew specifically in Edmonton.
Okay.
He really puts over like how great all of the cast that he because they did cast locally. And he worked with local casting directors and a local crew, and he really talks about how fantastic they are.
That's awesome.
Which makes me really happy. Like, I love that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's very clear to me that this was a labor of love.
Yeah.
A lot of work went into it. Knowing how much David Steinman loves movies and movie making, like, makes me love it even more.
Yeah.
You know, when like your passion project comes to life, like, and he talks about how much they had to do on the fly because a lot of the action that they wanted to do, like, they just couldn't with the budget. So they were making a lot of like decisions on the fly and like small rewrites and like logistic things. They were changing stuff.
And especially if Goldberg was doing some of his own stunts, what a perfect person to have in a role, a professional wrestler who's like, oh, I do stunts all the time on the fly. I got you.
Yeah. And Goldberg was super game to do everything. He was good with like his dialogue. He was really good at obviously like the puns and his like, you know, all that stuff. But obviously great at the stunts and coordination and all that shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like that made me appreciate it more. And Goldberg actually met his wife on this film.
Oh.
She was one of the stunt stunt actors, I believe. I believe her name is Wanda. She signed up to this movie thinking that Jeff Goldblum was in it.
Okay.
And it wasn't until she got to the set that she realized that it wasn't. It was Goldberg.
Oh, because of Goldberg.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
And then it ends up being her husband.
They got married like several months later.
Oh, months.
Yeah.
Damn.
So they must have like hit it off.
True love.
Yeah.
I love that. As a wrestling fan, I want to know like the little details that I know they don't matter, but I would love to know which wrestling show he went to see Goldberg, like what match it was he was having.
Yeah.
If it was post 2001, it would have been WWE. So Goldberg was only there from 2003 to 2004. So it would have been within that window.
Yeah, it was definitely, Goldberg was the champion.
Okay.
When he shot this.
Okay. Oh, when he shot the movie.
Yeah, so you were like obsessing about that last night.
I was. So he was still there?
He was still there. Yeah.
But wasn't it shot in 2004?
You're asking me a question.
Sorry. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was from what I saw. And that would have meant, because he stopped, his last match in WWE at that time was March 2004 because it was WrestleMania.
So
I do remember that.
So was that when he dropped the belt?
Oh, now you're asking me a question. I don't remember. I don't remember if it was at WrestleMania or not.
Well, in any event,
anyway,
he was with WWF or WWE, whatever, and was a champion.
Yeah.
So I know that you really wanted to know that. Yeah.
Because I was obsessing yesterday trying to Google it, like the whole timeline of like, was he in WWE or not when he shot this movie? Because I was surprised when I saw how vulgar the movie got.
Yeah.
Like with the nudity and everything. I was like, was he there? But it was a different time.
You pointed out this was like Diva Search era.
Yes.
This was like, I believe still evening gown, bra and panties type situations.
Yeah. At that WrestleMania, there was a Playboy evening gown match with Sable and Tori Wilson.
There you go. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that they were still, because they hadn't gotten into the PG era yet, I don't think.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, so I don't know. And also I think it makes sense to me that you were so wanting to know, because wrestling fans, whenever there's like a cross between entertainment and wrestling, I think we all get kind of excited about that. At least I always did.
Yeah.
I would always get excited for that. And you want to know.
Yeah, I just want to know out of curiosity. It doesn't really matter, but
yeah, but as a fan, you're like, I'm so curious. Like, how did this line up? And whatever. This movie was really big in Germany. It still does really, really well in Germany.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it's become a very popular movie to watch around Christmas time, or at least talk about around Christmas time.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, like anytime wrestling is injected into like the zeitgeist of like, or like in,
the real world.
The real world. Yeah. It does. I think it excites all of us.
It does, because
right?
we always feel like we're in this hidden niche, which we are.
And especially back then.
Yes.
Like I remember being in middle school and loving wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling and grew up watching wrestling. It wasn't cool.
No.
It wasn't cool. Maybe when the Attitude Era hit, it started to get cool, but it wasn't, I don't know if you experienced this, but as a girl, not a lot of, like I had one girlfriend that liked wrestling and we would watch the pay-per-views at her house, but it was mostly like boys.
Yeah, I think I definitely had my best friend when we didn't even go to school together. She just lived down the street. We were obsessed with wrestling together. But what I remember in like junior high and then like early high school was that I remember my friends knew that about me. So they would always make wrestling references to me. But from what I remember, they weren't that into it. Like they knew about it, but they weren't like watching it with me.
Yeah. I just don't really remember like having a lot of, I remember going to a couple of WWE like house shows with my dad and all his like work friends, and they would bring their sons. So
you're just like,
And at the time, I didn't care. Like I was like just excited, obviously, but I
know you don't know this, but anyone who's been on my Twitch knows this.
Yeah.
When you just said that your dad brought you, I'm like, anyone who knows this story is like, oh, damn.
No, what happened?
Like, that stings, doesn't it, bitch? No, I'm just kidding.
No, what happened?
No, I'll only quickly tell this because people who have heard it a million times. But long story short, the Raw that came to Detroit where Stone Cold jumped off the Zamboni, the one I mentioned earlier.
You did tell me this.
If you don't know, my dad went to that show, brought my little brother, didn't bring me, and I will never forget it. And I will never forgive it either.
I mean, to be honest, that is a big fat bummer.
And such an iconic episode of Raw, too. And when he came home, I was like, why didn't you take me? And he was like, oh, I didn't know you liked wrestling.
Thanks, Dad.
And look at me now. It's all out of spite.
Thanks, Dad. Oh my
I
God.
became a wrestler out
Holy
of spite.
shit. Oh my God. Did you want to be a wrestler when you were a kid?
Oh yeah.
my-
Ever since I was a kid.
I thought I was going to be a manager because I don't recall seeing a lot of women wrestlers.
I was just about to say, it's probably from what you were witnessing.
Yeah, I wanted to be a manager. I think I told you this, that I wrote a letter to WWF when I was 9 because I wanted to replace Sunny as the manager of the Body Donnas.
You did not tell me this. That's amazing.
My dad was so supportive. He's like, okay, we'll put a stamp on it.
I love that.
Yeah, because it was like an angle they were doing. And then they brought in a man named Cloudy as the manager. And I was devastated.
You're like, really, Cloudy over me?
Devastated. My 9-year-old ass was like, that could have been me.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I feel like also, like, you know, this is obviously a horror podcast. And but I think a lot of people that do listen to the podcast know us from wrestling.
Yeah.
We don't talk a lot about wrestling on here.
Yeah.
But with a Goldberg movie, I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to like share a little bit.
And he wrote in on Zamboni. I have to talk about it. You know I'm traumatized.
No, you have to. No, it's so true. And going to those live shows, I mean, as a kid, it's you know, especially if you know somebody that went and you didn't get to go, it's like
gosh.
devastating.
I did get to go to one when I was like 14. So at least I did one as a kid.
Well, Toronto never got Raw.
Oh, you only got the house shows?
We only got the house shows.
Okay.
And I didn't understand that as a child.
But even that, the one I ended up going to was a Raw in Detroit, but it was at Joe Louis Arena, RIP. I am devastated that is torn down.
Oh.
But even then, like when you're there, you don't really know the difference.
Yeah, no, that is very true. I remember the first time my dad used to somehow he got tickets through like, because he worked for the city and he had like, I don't know, he had access to
He had a hookup.
He did. He had some kind of hookup. And so I remember when I first went to a live show, I was with my mom and I remember the Ultimate Warrior was wrestling because my mom like is an artist and made this incredible sign of his mask. It was so detailed.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was beautiful.
They were so supportive.
They were really supportive. But it was the first time that I didn't hear commentary.
Oh, and you're like, what's going on?
Like as a child,
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
this is different.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously it was still fun. It was
Yeah.
at Cops Coliseum in Hamilton. But I was very like disappointed that
Yeah.
I couldn't hear commentary.
Yeah, and you realize like you're not getting the best view necessarily from watching it live.
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
But how it made me, even in my little 9-year-old brain or however old I was, it made me appreciate how important commentary is and how
Yeah.
good commentators are. Like, they can make or break it, man.
Oh, I love how you realize that at such a young age.
Yeah, because it was missing.
Yeah.
You know, I might
Yeah.
not have connected the dots like
Right.
I can articulate it now,
Yeah.
but I just remember being like, okay, but nobody's explaining things or, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Something's
there was,
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw Jake the Snake too. And that was like, and now to work with him like years later, it's just mind blowing. But
Yeah.
that was a, I'll never forget my very first show, man. That was fucking so cool.
I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, we spend a lot of time talking about wrestling, but I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes, and we hope that you enjoy this movie if you do watch it.
Yeah.
Especially because now we're like technically recommending it to you, so that's a lot of pressure for us.
Yeah, exactly. So please enjoy it if you do watch it. And if you do want to hear us share any wrestling related stuff,
Yeah.
we limit it on this
We do
podcast.
limit it.
And we do that purposely.
Yeah, because it's a horror podcast.
It's a horror
first.
podcast, right? But if you guys do want to hear little stories from us from time to time, please tell us.
Yeah.
Because I'll happily share.
Yeah, and we definitely listen to your feedback.
Yeah,
So-
for sure.
We love it. Please keep sending it to us. You can send it to us at our Gmail,
Yes.
which is.
ChainsawGirlsPod@gmail.com.
We also have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, which is.
At Chainsaw Girls Pod.
You can watch these if you're not already watching them. They do appear on YouTube. Premieres 12 p.m. noon Eastern. At least that's what we're doing at the time of this recording. So we'll probably continue it for a little bit.
Sure.
And you can live chat with other fans during premieres. So that's a little different thing than just watching it regularly. And that helps us a lot if you subscribe, like and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, and if you can leave us a 5-star review, that really helps our podcast grow. And
Okay, bye.
bye.